Today we are going to see the reactive forms. First, to have reactive forms, of course, you need definitely this forms module as well as reactive forms module. So first we have to import reactive forms module from @Angular6 forms. So once you have included this reactive forms module, you are supposed to put it in the import section also. Reactive forms module. Okay. So now the reactive forms module got configured. So in the template forms, all the job we are doing at template, I mean to say HTML itself. But in reactive forms, we do everything in types, class file. That means creation of the form, everything would be done at the class end, not in the template. We just refer the respective the respective property in the class. Let us see the example and then we'll try to understand this concept. Okay, for example, if you want to create an input element, so you have to import form control class from @Angular/forms. In the future, we are also going to import the form group. So here I am going to use form group as well. So these are the two classes which are required to create form in our example, in our present example. So let us see this. How can we make out of it? First of all, how to create a control. To create a control, we have the following syntax, where student name is equal to new form control. I'm sorry, I can't have where form control, where the form control will take the properties, arguments. The form control can take the arguments like first argument is a default value and the second argument is for validations. Just give me a minute. Sorry, this is not from, this is form control. So here the first argument will be default argument, and then after that you can pass if you want some validations. So like this, first we create a form control. If you want one more form control, what do you mean by form control? Your input boxes, student name control, student name, for age, for gender, for all these things we have to create the form control. Like the same way, student age is equal to new form control of nothing, or else you can put something like this, enter your age. Just see. So here I have created two different form controls and I can directly bind these two form controls in my page. How can I bind this? You just remove everything and create an input box. Input type is equal to text, and then we have to use some a directive called form control. control, that's it. Form control is equal to student name. So that is the control what we have created. So whatever the object we have created here, this will be binded with this particular input box. So we need not to worry about the remaining. I mean, we need not to bother about the remaining. Just give me a minute. So form control name and student age. Yeah. So you can see this actually. Now the default value enter your age got applied on this particular page. So this default value can be removed, but that value will be directly visible on it. Next, I will create a button as it is save. So I want to enable this button only when validations are satisfied. So now we have to understand two things. If we create a form like this, how do we apply the validations? That is the first point. And the second, that is very easy. After this first argument, you can pass a second argument like this. Validations. If you required validations, you want to apply validations, you have to import a class called validators from again @Angular/forms. Okay, so here we had to apply validators dot required. So this is how we can use this validators. So this is also, let me apply the same thing with here validators dot required. So both are required, but the problem is still the problem. There is a problem. What is a problem? They are not binded in a form, or they are not grouped together. To group together, we need to
Yes.
use form group, because we had to consolidatedly we had to check whether all the form fields are valid or not a first field or second field. So to identify
Yes.
the consolidated result, we definitely need to group them into a particular group. So for that, we are going to use the form group. So how to group them in a form? To group them in a form, we have a concept called, yeah, one second. Yeah. So to group them, we are going to use the form group. So here I would like to create student form. So this means this is a group variable, new form group. So I'm creating an object for form group pass. In this form group, it is expected to pass whatever the controls you want to group together in an object as key value pairs. For example, this is the first object you're talking about. So here I will directly pass it. Instead of that, I will put a comma, student name, and one more thing is here it should be a colon. So this student name is the key and new form is the value. It give whatever the object is there, that will be available in the student name. And the same way, I will create one more variable. Now I don't need this. And here also one more key value pair, that is student age. I will put it over here. Student age is equal to new form group. So whatever the controls I'm going to create, I have to create inside the student form group. Now the student form is a group of two form controls. So here let me see what is there in the one more thing, one second. I had to bind this entire these all two elements in a form group. So for that I will take a division. In this division I will apply the form group is equal to student form. But when you apply the student form, you have to convert this form control into form control name, because they are key value pairs, right? Form control name. And what's wrong here? Let us see. And yeah, okay. And don't use the property binding, just a normal directive binding. Yes, the syntax is little bit tricky, but this is how we have to do. Name, student age, student name and student age. Now no errors, and properly they are binded. Now you let us see the value what is there inside the student form. It's an object, of course, JSON. Let us see by entering something, and there is an error here because it may be too big to display. That is the reason, or else there are so many nested objects in your form group. Hmm. Already there are errors, probably that is having circular. Yeah, it's a big circle. Okay, fine. So instead of student form printing over here, I will create a button, another button. This is only to see what is there in the form group. Click, and when I click on the button, I'll call ABC function. Sorry, ABC method. Here I need not to pass the form student form, because the student form is already available with the class component, because there is the student form, right? So ABC console.log of student form. So because this is a class property, we have to use this dot student form. Shall we apply this and see? Yeah, and here if you see the output, so it is giving us a form group, and in that form group, same, even yesterday we had the same form group, right? In the template forms, in that also the value is an object with student age and student name. There we have seen s age and s name. Here it is student age and student name, because we have designed our form like this. We have designed our form like this. So we are getting the values, whether it is a valid status or not, all these things. Suppose if I don't have any value in it, hmm, and if I click on the button, now you just see the status is invalid and valid property will have false. So can I disable this save button? Obviously I can disable the
Yes.
save button. How? By just using this form validation. So even though
Disable
we have
property.
directly not applied any validation to the form, we have applied to the form controls. Still, all the controls are inside the form. So the form name, the student form will have that particular value like this. So disabled is equal to student form dot valid. So if it is valid, it gives you true. If it is invalid, it gives you false. So I'll make using not to apply the logic. Now by default it is disabled, and when I have enter something, it is automatically becoming enabled. You can see
Enable.
this. Yeah. So like this. The same way you can apply some more buttons like some other buttons, maybe like reset. So how can I do that? You just call what? When I click on this, I'll call what do I do? I can do something like here itself student form dot reset. So according to the number of lines, how many number of lines we are using, all these things, reactive forms is much simpler than the template forms. Not only that, the biggest advantage of reactive forms is we are not actually what you say troubling our template. Template's duty is only to display the data or collect the data. It should not have any other logical implications in it. Try to understand this point. The very fundamental thing is, as much as possible, we should not clutter the template. Whatever the logical work we want to do, we have to do it in the control or service. I mean to say, class are your services. Okay, and that is the first point. So as much as possible, you separate the concerns. Don't do any logical work in templates. Do it in the class. Okay, and second thing is
Yes.
we can actually reuse this particular form. Okay, I'll show you how do we do it in the future next tomorrow, but today we have to understand this particular form is reusable. Okay, even in another even in another page, if you want, you need not to rewrite this entire code again. You just need to apply these forms. That's all. Apply this form group and form control. That's it. That's the only job we have to do. So that reusability also made this reactive forms more easier. And the third bigger advantage is the more highest you can consider. Of course, highest is for me the most best advantage is reusability. Third advantage is validations. You can actually create custom validators for this particular using this what do you say reactive forms. you can actually create a validator. We'll come to that, of course. First of all, let me complete what is this reactive forms, what is the importance. As well as you can apply the asynchronous validators, custom validators. All these are possible with reactive forms. That is why we are using this reactive forms. Okay, now one more interesting thing is we can make use of a service because this type of creation is too big to create. Okay, so for that our Angular provided a service called form builder. In the form builder, if you have to pass every form control as an array, that is much more easier and simpler to write the form control. So let me comment them and I will show you the form. So first, as I told you, this that is a service. So first we'll import it, form builder service. And when someone is saying it is service, we have to inject it in the constructor. How do we inject it? Public or private, anything is fine. FB colon form builder. Here now I can make use of form builder to create the new form. How can I create the new form with form builder? Where nowhere student form is equal to new form. Sorry, already this is that is a service, right? So this dot fb dot, there is a service called group, there is a method called group. In this group we pass all of them as an
Okay.
array of objects. Okay, so let us see, form group method takes array of key and string. Yeah, so here we go. What is the name of the form control we want to create? Student name is equal to an array of, just give me a minute to pass it in the array. See, don't worry, just a minute. So in the student form group, I am passing all the controls as an key value pairs, same like this, but you need not to write this new form control like that. Okay, student age is also an empty array. If you in this array, if you have any default value, you have to pass it is in the first value, and if you have any validator, you have to pass it as dot required. The same way here also, validators dot required. That's it. Student name, student age, validators dot required. So this created the same form. There is no need to change anything anywhere. This will this will work as it is. This will work as it is. So save these all same to thing, same. But here I have with less code, I am able to create the student form group. Okay. Here I have the same code, but you can see there, right? You have little more work to do here, but in form builder you can reduce this. For just one or two lines, for one or two form controls, you don't find any big difference, much big difference. But here, if when you go with a bigger form size, you definitely need this. I hope you got me. Form builder, how do we use form builder
Yes.
to create forms? Okay, when I am doing it, it will
Yes.
look like okay, okay, yeah, fine, fine, fine. But definitely until and unless you practice it, it's not possible. Is it okay? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
To make this particular student form as reusable component, what do I do is I'll create a model for this. So here I don't have model here, so I will make a class. I name it as student.ts. Student, that's it, because .ts will be applied automatically. Okay, now if I want to create the form builder, see this, whatever I have done, I just simply copy the things. Copy, because you guys feel better to copy. So I don't want any form builder. Of course, here, why should I export in two lines? I'll export it in a single line. So form builder and validator is now available in it. And then I had to use this student form, right? Student form. Now there will be a small difficulty. I will explain you that out of it. So here the problem is, what is this FB? How can I create that FB? Okay. To create that FB, we are supposed to use the constructor, right? Because this form builder is an form builder is an service. So obviously we are supposed to inject it. But imagine we have different forms in different components. All the forms should have their own instances. They should not share the common instance. Are you getting my point? There is a problem. For
Yes.
example, in the same application, you have entered the data, but you don't want to submit it. You go back, you do something else, and somewhere else you create another form. There also the same student form is reflected. So you should I mean, you should have the old student data as it is for the respective form, and you should have this new student data in the separate respective form. So these two student forms may be different. Okay, so let us not create the single instance. Let us not use the dependency injection. Okay, if you use the dependency injection, you are using singleton or else single instance. So both the forms will share the same data. So let us not do that. So directly we create an object. We create an object like FB is equal to new form builder. So FB is a new form builder. Is it okay? So now I
Yes,
can build the form
sir.
with validation. So now I can use this student form in my component class. So how, let me comment this. Hmm? So I have an error here. Yeah, student form is an error. So here what do I do? I'll create, yeah, first of all I had to get that student form from that particular file. How can I get it? Import. What should I import? Whatever exportable from the student class, I can import it. What is the exportable? Student. So I have to import
Yes.
student. Student from @Angular slash, sorry, it is not in the Angular, it's in the same folder as student. So it is not a service, it is just a class. So I can
Yes.
make use of the class. What do I do is I'll create another variable, student form is equal to new student. देखो student dot I have what student, give me a minute. Come on, student form is equal to new student of. So we have to apply this way. But if you create an object for student class, what happens? This complete class will come and get stored in the student, that complete class. I don't want the complete class, I want only this student form, right? So what I'm supposed to do is, don't apply this
Yes.
student form, student class object, apply the student form only. Can you see this? After dot I have the student form here, so I just applied that student form only to the local variable student form. Of course, the names are same, but most of the cases the same things happen. Now there is no error, and the page is back. You are you getting my point? Yeah. So this is how
Yes.
your reactive forms will work with based on model. This is what the importance of models. So we can reuse it. This is a model. This is a student model. So in the future, whatever the data types you create, you have to create it like a model, like this. Okay, you'll understand it when in the real time. Don't worry about it. So we have covered a lot today. One point is, how do we create form controls by using form control class. Then how we grouped the form controls into one form group. Then we created forms using form builder. Then we have created a separate model, not module. We have created separate model for student, and we can for student form, so that that model can be reused in all our examples, in all our components directly. So I don't need any of this code now. Am I correct? I just need to import it and use it. That's it. How the student form got created is none of our business. So these are the different aspects what we have covered. Tomorrow we are going to see the validations. How do we perform validations using custom validators and of course asynchronous validators. Am I making sense? Have you understood this,
Yes, sir.
Rasika? Okay, please practice this validators and let me know how can you do it. See you guys. See you tomorrow. Bye bye.